Hello everybody and welcome back to Victoria, where we are currently working our way out of debt here. We have a little bit of debt remaining, and I do want to cut taxes here fairly soon. The question is, do we want to cut the consumption taxes? And we'll see what our options end up looking like. If we cut this down to here, that would be too much. Actually, this would be too much too. So we would have to cut a consumption tax, but leave our taxes at this level for now. I want to drive up our standard of living a little bit. The tobacco consumption tax is the likely option here. And then we can use that authority to maybe do a decree to stimulate the production of an area. Like, for example, if we went into our decrees here, we'd be able to maybe do an encourage resource industry. We can't actually do an encourage manufacturing industry. We can't overlap them. So we would probably actually be interested in dropping... Yes. I would be interested in dropping the resource industry in Wisconsin, like so, and swapping this over to manufacturing, like that. Okay, so that's reasonably fine. That doesn't actually expend any of that authority. That's a one-for-one authority changeover. So that's understood. And we're going to be out of debt here fairly soon, at which point we want to start thinking about tax cuts. Now, we could just leave our consumption taxes where they are and potentially just drop this overall tax amount here. That might be a viable thing to do. Let's see here. So we're currently at 635 in unrealized taxes. Our overall radicalism is up a bit. That's absolutely understood. I'm definitely leaning towards doing this, but this would put us in a slight temporary deficit. But that might be okay. Once we're out of debt, anyway. So we're going to not be paying this interest anymore. That's going to be a next week sort of thing. So we're very, very close on doing this. Okay, there we go. So we have a little bit of gold reserves. Human rights have now been unlocked, which actually give us some interesting law options. We could go to compulsory primary school, which I'm kind of tempted to do. No one's opposed to that, really. So let's do that. That should just cruise right on through without any problem. So that should be absolutely fine. We see that our pop growth is 36.49 per annum. That's looking very, very good. And I do want to cut these taxes at this time. So we're going to go down to here. We are very, very slightly positive. Okay, that's a good sign. So we should see our standard of living begin to rise, at least somewhat. And I'm hoping to see our welfare payments fall a little bit, too, off of that. I'm not sure how exactly those are calculated. I don't know if that's pre or post tax that the welfare is considered. So it may or may not decrease as we decrease our taxes. I'm not 100% on that. We'll find out, I guess. So that seems fine for the moment. We should definitely be seeing our radicalism drop, and it definitely is. So that's good. We're going to see our income slowly growing as we're harvesting more of these unrealized taxes. Now, this tax waste, I believe, is still entirely due to our radicalism. Let's check in... We need to be in here. Government administration. Yeah. So this is 100% due to our radicalism. That's fine. That is absolutely acceptable. So for now, this is looking reasonably good. And we can see our GDP is definitely beginning to grow here. That's great. We're at 2.1 million, and our GDP per capita is 52. Okay, so we're now back to positive on our earning of recognition, but our GDP per capita isn't quite where we want to be. We will get there very, very soon. An explosives factory. 1.32. Ooh, that's pretty good. We could maybe almost consider a tax cut again. And dropping consumption taxes, maybe not the worst thing in the world either at this moment. So we could definitely drop the consumption tax on porcelain. That's not very valuable. Let's get rid of that. And that would allow us to put out another decree. So what are we interested in? We could do an agricultural or resource industry. I'm wondering what we've got going on in our GDP here. So this is primarily grain and paper in Indiana. These numbers do not add up to 100%. Okay, that's That's interesting. I'm not sure why these numbers don't add up to 100%, but this is way more than 100%. This is right here, 108%. So I'm not entirely sure what this percentage is. Maybe that's an efficiency rating or something. I'm not entirely sure. But our top GDP contributor here is grain. That said, this is 1.94K, and our GDP is 177K. Well, okay then. So over here in Ohio, 127, 484 in Illinois. So really, what we're interested in is boosting the GDP of, I think, Illinois here. So if we look at this currently, we are primarily coal and furniture. So we're going to have to do a manufacturing or a resource industry here, actually, instead of the agricultural. Let's swap that over to resource industry. So that will boost up our coal there. It won't really boost up our furniture. It'll depress the tobacco and grain a little bit. That's understood. Okay, so as far as agricultural industries go, in Indiana's a decent spot for that. In Ohio, that would actually be okay too. So we could go for an agricultural industry boost here, and then we don't have enough right now for anywhere else. But let's see what that ends up doing to our GDP as we work on that a little bit. We'll give it a week tick or two. Holding firm at 2.1. Okay. Yeah, this is a ridiculous thing to say. I didn't even read what he said, but I'm sure it was ridiculous. Additional prestige? Sure. That's fine. So we're at 1.01K right now. Could we think about dropping our consumption tax on tobacco? Just barely, actually. Let's do that for now. That's a relatively safe thing to do in terms of taxation at this time. So that looks good, and that means that we can put out another decree. So what are we interested in doing? Well, encouraging migration, perhaps? So a greener grass campaign in, say, Michigan, where we know we need a lot more employees. Like, a lot more employees. Yeah, let's go ahead and do that. So that's going to boost up our migration attraction to medium. Actually, to high, 55.6. So I'm hoping that we end up seeing a mass migration there. That would be ideal. Sure, +5 legitimacy is good. So at this moment, if we were to drop our taxes again, we'd be at -1.3. Okay. So that seems reasonably fine. We're not that far away, actually, from being able to drop our taxes down to minimum. So that would be good. We're at number 38 in the world for standard of living, and for GDP per capita, we're actually at 52, so now 53. Our population growth kind of hurts us in that per capita number, so that is absolutely understood. For the moment, this is fine. We're at least progressing on our earning of recognition. We've got 12 years left in the game, so I think... yeah, we would make it even at 1 speed. So we got an advance here. That actually kind of surprises me. 20% of lower strata pops in Minnesota becoming more loyalist. How many radicals do we have in Minnesota? Let's see here. This is not considered a high radicalism state. There's a place to see when it's not high radicalism what our number of radicals is, isn't there? 99% certain that there is a way to see that. I would have expected it to be in here. But they would become loyalist at the very least. Well, we can mouse over here anyway and look at the overlay. So that would end up being... yeah, there's actually a fair amount of radicals in Minnesota, judging by the overlay. It turns a nice pink color. So we'll call them the masses, and that'll be good. Excellent. So we see that radicalism dropped down pretty heavily from that, and our loyalists actually rose a little bit too. That is a very good thing. No doubt about that. So I want to evaluate our trade routes here quick. We've got some negative trade routes. We do not domestically produce rubber or dye, and we're unlikely to produce rubber ever. So that's noted. And we're currently exporting some wood here. I'm going to ditch this one, and that brings the other wood trade route into positive for now. So that looks good for now. I want to look at our potential export goods. Yeah, those would all be negative, 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 and there's a little bit of grain that we could actually export to the American and Confederate markets. Sure, we might as well do that. So that looks good. Our price of wood is still very low, so stimulating wood demand would still be a good thing. And no, I did not intend that pun. Okay, so this explosives factory is going to be finished in 5 weeks here. Do we have anything else in the private construction queue? As of right now, no. Okay. So that's noted. See how we are currently slightly negative in our balance here? That's okay. I don't mind that. We will continue to grow into that. So compulsory primary school is looking okay. And we can see we're at 83 bureaucracy right now. That looks decent. So our standard of living has come up markedly at this point, and we're in a much better financial situation at this point. So compulsory primary school is likely going to pass up into voting here, so we'll give that 3 more days. And let's see what happens. Yeah, progresses up to voting, as expected. So that looks good. Our GDP per capita is actually at number 45 right now. So I'm completely fine with running this very, very, very small deficit at this moment. I don't mind this. We are not going to go into debt anytime soon. We've got gold reserves to pay for this, so this looks fine. We'll grow into this, and as our population grows, we will get additional revenue there. So that looks good. If we check in on our turmoil over here, public transit was successfully completed. Oh, okay. Motor industries throughput or urban center throughput? We'll take the urban center throughput for now. That's putting us net negative in steel, and we went back negative financially. For the time being, that's okay. Additional legitimacy, huh? I like how it's giving us victories against socialism, but we've kind of been going down that route here with our institutions. We could actually move our social security up to maximum. I suspect that would be too much for us in welfare payments, so for right now, I'm going to say no to that one. We're negative in glass and steel. This is because we just started up our private construction again. This will go away fairly soon. That private construction is not going to last long. We can see that our GDP did drop, though, by a pretty hefty amount, and that's not great. This is mostly due to that steel and glass shortage, and this is mostly because we have a shortage of people working in our steel mill and our glass works in Michigan. That's what it comes down to. People just shuffle around in Michigan based on the market conditions. We need more population here. So we can check in here and see we've got population coming in. It's eligible as a mass migration target. People migrated from Illinois last week, so people are internally migrating to Michigan. We'd like to have some external immigration here because we really need more workers. So that's understood. So our maize farms are completing here. We're now building a fertilizer plant. Okay, cool. And we did just finish up our compulsory primary school. So that looks good. We could swap over to propertied women to get that 5% workforce ratio. At this time, that's maybe not the worst idea in the world. We don't have feminism, so we can't go further down this tree at this point. But a 5% workforce ratio would be pretty decent. That would get us a lot of additional workers. It would cut our population growth, our birth rate, by 5%. But that's probably offset sufficiently at this point. Yeah, I'm leaning towards getting additional workers at this moment. That should be reasonably fine. And I do definitely want to work up our education institution up to maximum. So we'll get that going. That'll be done in 33 weeks. We're still running a bit of a deficit here. That deficit is building up slightly right now. This is due to our economic downturn, and that seems okay. Let's check in on trade routes. Nothing too much going on here. Price of wood came up a little bit. Probably because workers left the logging camps and were working in the steel mills and glassworks. That would be my guess. So for now, that seems reasonably fine. And let's get ourselves some more workers by getting 5% workforce ratio from propertied women. So that seems decent, but we are going to lose that birth rate. At this point, I think we're okay with that. That's not going to set back our growth curve all that much. It will set it back some, to be sure, but it's not going to be absolutely terrible. So that looks okay for now, and we're currently at this taxation level. Yeah, so we're a ways away from cutting our taxes right now. but that may change soon. If we looked at our current tax system, we are on per capita taxation. Proportional taxation would still be net negative at this point, and this is because we don't have much of an upper class, to be honest. And we never have had much of an upper class. That's just not really a thing for us. So that's understood. We'll continue to run this deficit for a little bit, and we should grow into this. We're currently at 2.3 million. Okay, so yeah, we're earning recognition at a pretty decent clip here. 2 average monthly progress, so that looks good. We should have lots of time to get this finished. So that's beautiful. As well as getting propertied women going here, that should go pretty quickly. There's literally no one opposing this. Okay, the big men are opposing it, but they don't care. So that's fine. We actually only have chances for positive rolls here. There's no chance for a debate or stall roll. The actual chance is 0.2 and 0. So this is a 99.8% chance of a good roll. This is just going to pass. That's all there is to it. Getting more people into the workforce is going to be very good for us, obviously. We definitely need to get more people in here. I'm just looking at the number of peasants. Like, the peasants out over here, they can definitely... Ooh, 12k peasants over in Prophetstown. That's definitely noted. We've built up our peasant count a little bit. We are getting this done over here, and this is probably who's migrating into Michigan. That's fine. Michigan being a migration target is absolutely good. We could use more people in our railway. We could use more people in our sulfur mine. We could use more people in our logging camp. We could use more people in our steel mills, although not by much. We could use more people in our paper mills. So Michigan is getting better with that migration. So that's absolutely understood. We're not in a position right now where we can build unless we want to go into debt. We will be a lot safer going into debt after we get recognized. This is currently plus 100% from unrecognized power. So our base production, or rather our base interest rate is going to be like, let's see, 14% times 0.8. So let me pull up a calculator here. 14 times 0.8 would be 11.2% interest. So we'd have less than half the interest rate that we have right now. That would be very significant, of course. So we would be delighted to have that. Okay, let's see about propertied women here. I'm hoping that this goes straight to voting. And it did. Beautiful. And we're just barely negative in our deficit right now. Now we're starting to tick over to positive, and this is expected. As our population grows, that poll tax is going to be significant. So we're getting 2.83k from poll taxes and 2.76 from income taxes. Understood. So the tax cut here is going to cost us 1.32k in revenue. So that's understood. For the time being, we don't want to do this. I mean, we want to do it, but we're not going to do it. Yeah. Once our recognition comes through, we're not going to care so much about our GDP per capita or our standard of living insofar as we have to keep it in the top 50. That's not going to be a thing anymore. Oh, we're at number 51 right now. Okay. We could consider a tax cut here to boost that up, but ultimately our GDP is on the rise, and I think that this is going to come up eventually as well. It might take a little longer. I'd also like to consider boosting our government wages up to here, but we just don't have the revenue. That's just not a thing. But it might not matter so much anymore once we've earned recognition. So we'll keep going like this for now, and we are currently at no progress because our GDP per capita has dropped. I mean, yeah. We have a couple of trade routes that are inactive right now, and let's get rid of these trade routes for the moment. So now we know that we're going to have a lack of oil. This is not surprising. Wait, this oil here. This should be fine then. We do have an oil. Oh no, we have an oil shortage. So we have no one we can import it from. We're going to have to build it. Noted. We have no private constructions right now, although we're working on privatizing a railway in Indiana. So that is actually fantastic. That means that that money is going to go into the oil rig in Ohio. Excellent. Okay, so we hit an advance here. I mean, that's a little awkward. But we're up to 83% success chance now. Did any of that come out of the stall chance? down to 0.1. Hilarious. Okay, so that seems fine for now. How much of this are we gaining per week? 3%? Okay, so our education is now maxed. That looks good. And we are running a small surplus at this point, when not constructing. That's understood. So things are looking okay for us. I would definitely like to continue to develop this nation, but things are definitely tough for us. No doubt about it. We'd like to get these peasants put to work. They are, I think, in awkward locations at this moment. How are we doing on our Michigan employment? We've got 8K peasants here in Michigan right now. Okay, so that's understood. In that case, that's a demand issue, not a number of jobs issue. So we definitely want to work that up. I want to get this oil rig done. That's going to be a pretty big deal. The railway in Ohio would be great too. So that's all considered. I would love to get this investment pool money for ourselves instead of having that go into the investment pool, but alas. Imagine how much more we could construct. But nope, that's not how that works. Okay, so we're about to get propertied women done here, which is going to increase our workforce, which is going to mean we probably have more peasants. That also means that we should be able to get more privatization going on, in theory. But we're going to want to boost demand of things, for sure. So there's propertied women, and at this point we can see we're expecting the number of peasants to increase here. The population growth didn't go down all that much. So that looks good. Cool. We're just waiting on this privatization to start up our construction. So as soon as that's done, we'll get going here. And we are still running an oil shortage, but that's part of the purpose of this construction. So that looks fine for now. Okay, ready for privatization, and there it is. So we just got 219K from that. Now that's going to be painful, for sure. How's our standard of living doing and our GDP per capita? Okay, so we are earning recognition at 2 monthly, currently. Okay. So we're currently running a shortage of steel and glass. We should see both of these hire in very quickly. We have peasants here. So this looks fine. Actually, this glass works is maxed. Its production is limited by the lack of oil. Okay. So that is definitely a concern. We can import some oil again from the reactionary American market, and that will hopefully help that at least a little bit. Okay, the shortage went away. And our oil rig here is going to be done in 9 weeks. Okay, so that is going to be very useful to have a domestic source of oil. No doubt about that. I'm thinking that we should probably consider expanding this glassworks, and as far as timing on that goes, that would go probably, I mean, I'd like it to go here, but that's a long ways away at our current construction rates. That's the main issue. Our GDP is reaching new heights at this point. That is a very good thing, of course, but we're not going to be able to run this construction level forever. For only a couple more weeks. Long enough to get this oil rig done, though. So that's definitely going to be useful. That is going to mean that we want to get rid of the oil import routes, ideally. We don't have a railway here, though. So that means that we have to make sure that we are not... tanker cars may actually work here. Because we do produce some transportation from our urban center. We don't have a synthetics plant. Oh, right. This is a foreign construction. We do domestically produce dye. I forgot about that. Importing is actually still considered beneficial right now, so that's understood. So let's get rid of this oil import route. And this rubber import route, that's going to have to remain. So that's understood. This oil rig is going to be online shortly. And yes, you can see we're running an input goods shortage of oil, which is not surprising. But we're about to finish this. There we go. Okay, let's pause. Actually, minus 1.77K. We can keep doing this for a while, although we're not going to make a huge amount of progress on this railway. Minus 5K? That's about 4 weeks of construction. Yeah, we could run that for a little bit anyway. That seems okay. Cool. That'll get us a little more progress on our earning recognition, of course. We're very close to getting this done, so that seems good. And we've got this maize farm going in here too. Now, I'm wondering, do we have a transportation shortage here? The answer is no. So we are actually outputting some oil here now. That looks good. And we're on combustion derricks and tanker cars, so this is as good as it's gonna get, other than expanding the size of it. Cool. We're out of money at this point. Let's go ahead and pause our private, or rather our public construction. Our private construction will be ongoing for the time being. We'd like to expand maize farms in Michigan. That's understood. Our investment pool is going to be negative for a little bit here. So that seems fine for now. And we're making 1.2K currently. If we were to look to cut taxes, this would be very close. Now we're in debt a little bit and we should pay that off, but we're getting close to earning recognition here. And our glass shortage is still a thing. Although we don't have an input goods shortage of oil anymore, so that's good. But we definitely need to boost our glass production. That means that we need to move this guy up to here. Okay. Well, it is time to put a cut in here, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. And next episode, we're going to bring ourselves out of debt and then possibly think about another tax cut. We're probably going to end up earning recognition next episode. So that looks great. You can leave your offerings to the engagement gods in the form of likes, comments, subscribes, and bell ringings. And a very special thank you to all of the channel members for making this video possible, including ALS Gamer, Dark Horse, Ethan Feldman, Upper Cumberland Gamers, Nick Smarty, Dimitri H, Punching the Microphone, The Lounge STL, and all the rest. And of course, you. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to support the channel, you can click the join button down below the video, and as always, I will see you all next time.